Who is protected? Understanding sexual offenses around the world. Introduction. Sexual offenses involve acts committed without valid consent or where the law determines consent is impossible. These laws exist to protect sexual autonomy, bodily integrity, and vulnerable groups, particularly children. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Sexual offenses happen everywhere, and their consequences ripple across society, families, and the mental well-being of victims. UK example, sexual offenses are codified in the Sexual Offences Act 2003, which modernized common law principles defining consent, sexual assault, and abuse of trust. In the southern Nigeria, the Criminal Code section 357 to 364 governs sexual offenses, while the Penal Code section 282 to 287 apply in the northern part of Nigeria. Commonwealth examples: Australia, criminal codes protect against sexual assault, child exploitation, and abuse of trust with strict statutory penalties. In Canada, criminal code sections 271 to 273 cover sexual assault, assault with a weapon, and sexual offenses against children. In South Africa, criminal law, sexual offenses and related matters Amendment Act 32 of 2007 defines consent, abuse of minors, and exploitation. U.S. example, it varies state by state. From federal law includes statutes on sexual abuse of minors, and state statutes cover sexual assault, statutory rape, and grooming. In Ghana, Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, Sections 97 to 101 regulate sexual offenses, including defilement of minors. In Japan, Penal Code Articles 177 to 179 criminalize rape and sexual coercion with stricter penalties for minors. Today, we will look at sexual offenses, consent, vulnerable groups, of defenses, case law, and comparative approaches globally. Aims of the Sexual Offences Act 2003 and its equivalent. The Act seeks to protect sexual autonomy and bodily integrity. No one can legally force sexual activity. It clarifies consent, legally defines when consent is absent. It protects children and vulnerable persons. Strict liabilities applies for offenses against children under 13. It criminalizes abusive sexual conduct, including exploitation, grooming, and abuse of trust. In the UK, see the case of Nigerian against Breed 2007. The court held that alcohol intoxication may undermine consent. Defendant convicted despite victim being partially incapacitated. In Nigeria, see the case of the state against Ojo, Lagos High Court 2020, conviction for sexual assault where victim incapacitated. Court emphasized inability to consent. Australia, see the case of Nigerian against W 2019, teacher convicted for sexual activity with a student, abuse of trust highlighted. In the state versus Doe, California 2018, teacher-student sexual activity, statutory rape charges, conviction upheld. Ghana, Republic versus Abubakar 2019, teacher sentenced for defilement of minor, strict liability applied. South Africa, S against M 2017, conviction for sexual exploitation of a minor under authority of trust. Definition of sexual and consent. Sexual act. Defined broadly, an act is sexual if a reasonable person considered it sexual or if its purpose or circumstances make it sexual. Consent, section 74 UK, agreement by choice, where the person has the freedom and capacity to make that choice. Factors negating consent includes violence or threats, unconsciousness or sleep, intoxication, deception about the nature of the act. Now, presumptions. Evidential, section 75, the defendant must provide evidence of consent. Conclusive, section 76, consent legally impossible, for example, impersonation. See the case of Regina against Flattery in 2021. False promises about medical procedures vitiated consent. Nigeria State against Adekule 2021, using deception to lure victim for sexual activity constitutes rape. US People against Johnson, victim deceived about contraceptive safety, court held lack of informed consent. Australia Regina against C, Vic 2018, deception about employment conditions leading to a sexual act, court emphasized absence of consent. Court sexual offences. UK rape, section 1 Sexual Offences Act 2003, penetration with a penis without consent or reasonable belief in consent. Only those with a penis can commit as principal, others may be accessories. Case examples: UK Regina against DPP 2018, victim unconscious, convicted, upheld. Nigeria State vs. Chukwu 2022, rape of adult victim, conviction under section 357 of the Criminal Code. US People against Smith, CA 2020, sexual assault on incapacitated victim, conviction for rape, upheld. South Africa State against L 2016, rape under intoxication, strict liability maintained. 2. Sexual assault, UK section 3, intentional sexual touching without consent. Example, Regina against H 2020, workplace sexual assault, conviction upheld. Nigeria State against Abiola 2021, teacher groping student. Canada Regina against M 2018, workplace sexual harassment, assault convictions. Assault by penetration, UK section 2, penetration with body part or object sexual in nature without consent. Example, Regina against Katamaki 2006, object penetration, conviction upheld. Australia Regina against K 2019, aggravated due to victim vulnerability. Ghana Republic versus Mensah 2020, sexual penetration of minor with object, conviction upheld. Offenses against children. Children under 16 cannot legally consent. Under 13, strict liability, no defense of reasonable belief in age. Examples, Regina against G 2005, conviction for sexual activity with child under 13. Nigeria State against Yusuf, Kaduna 2020, conviction for sexual assault of a child. Australia, NSW and Queensland, statutory protection, grooming is criminalized. Japan Criminal Code, Article 177, sexual activity with minor under 13, strict punishment. Abuse of position of trust. Offenses occur when authority figures exploit minors under 18. Consent is irrelevant due to imbalance of power. Example, in the UK, Regina against A 2005, teacher convicted, position of trust upheld. Nigeria State against Okonkwo 2021, school staff abuse. Canada Regina against Gomeshi 2016, celebrity abusing position of trust. South Africa, State versus Moyo, 2017, carer sexually exploiting minor. Mens rea and defenses. Intention to commit sexual acts without consent or without reasonable belief. Reasonable belief is assessed subjectively and objectively. Intoxication is generally not a defense and may undermine claimed reasonable belief. Case example, Regina against Morgan, 1976. Mistaken belief in consent, conviction upheld. Nigeria State against Eze, 2021. Victim intoxicated, defense rejected. US State against Daniels, Florida, 2019. Consent under intoxication, court emphasized no reasonable belief. Ancillary sexual offenses. Causing a person to engage in sexual activity, sexual exploitation, grooming, coercion, exposure, intentional exposure of genitals, voyeurism, observing private acts for gratification, making indecent images of children. Example, Regina against Wilkins, 2019, hidden camera voyeurism. Nigeria State against Bello, 2020, shaking indecent images, conviction upheld. Australia, Regina against F, 2020, grooming, sextortion of minor. Europe, Germany, Bevat, 2018, sexual exploitation through photography. Sentencing and consequences. Imprisonment, lengthy, life possible for child rape or aggravated cases. Sex offenders register, UK, Nigeria, Canada, and Australia. Civil offenses or civil consequences, restraining orders, compensation. Psychological impact, courts recognize lifelong trauma. Example, UK 2022, rapists of minors sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. Nigeria, teacher abusing students sentenced 10 years imprisonment. Canada, sexual assault of vulnerable persons 18 to 15 years plus in registry. Australia, aggravated sexual assault of minor 10 to 20 years custodial. Why sexual offenses are taken seriously? Violation of personal autonomy and bodily integrity, which may be psychological, social, and physical harm to victims. Abuse of trust and power. Long-term social impact on the victim. Always identify offense type. Is it rape, assault, penetration, or exploitation? Assess consent and reasonable belief. Consider age and position of trust. Apply statutory presumptions and case laws. Distinguish UK versus Nigerian law and, where relevant, other Commonwealth countries. Sexual offenses are complex but preventable. Legal systems across the globe converge on one truth. Sexual autonomy and consent must be respected at all times. Understanding the law is the first step toward protection, accountability, and justice.